So you've got a URL in WordPress and you want to figure out how to move it to another URL. Well, stay tuned because we're going to hop on over to the computer and get it done. So we're here and we're logged into our WordPress dashboard, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is go to Plugins on the left-hand side and then Add New. When you click Add New, you're going to want to search for the keyword redirect. So you will get the first result is always this redirection plugin. It's because it has 2 million active installations, and that's a really good thing when you have a high review and a high number of installations. It means that a lot of people are relying on it. So you would just go to that, add new, and then search, and that's how you would get to that. Now, after you've done that, I've already installed this plugin, and so it says active, but you would go install now, and then a blue button will show up and you write activate. So then you'll notice after that something will show up on the top of your WP admin that says, please complete your redirection setup to activate the plugin. Here's the first page. You can see that it tells you a little bit about this plugin and how it works. The bottom line is this: you have a source URL like native ad agency, and you want to make it into another URL like native advertising agency. And so what this does is it allows you to figure out that change very easily, and you can monitor 404 errors. So if people go to a page that used to exist and doesn't exist anymore, or they think it exists and it doesn't exist, perhaps because of a broken backlink from another website, then you can monitor those errors, catch any trends, and then fix them with a redirect. The other thing is you can import things, and you can match URLs using regular expressions. So for example, if someone is, let's just use the example of I make markers, if anybody has any sort of marker URL or marker query in their URL, it would automatically redirect not to the 404 page, but to the marker category page. Kind of an obscure example, but hopefully that was helpful. So you can start a setup there, and then you can monitor permalink changes. So I like to keep that enabled because it means that I will know if something has been changed. This is especially good for team websites. And then, of course, keep a log of all redirects and 404 errors. That's best practice. Definitely you want to do that. And store IP information for redirects and IP errors. This can be good, but if you want to see, for example, if something is happening from a specific region or IP, like bots or whatever. But one thing to note is that in some places like Europe, GDPR laws say this is not cool. I am not a lawyer. I do not know about the legalities of that in a big way, so don't take this as legal advice. I'm going to continue to the setup. So redirection uses the REST API, and what that means in WordPress speak is just that they're using WordPress's way to connect to like the API. API is like sort of like a plugin, like a common language. And so it just tests it, and we're good. This, I have never, ever seen a problem with this, so you probably don't have to worry about it. But if you want me to actually explain that in more advanced or a fuller way, just comment on the video below and I'm happy to help you out. I didn't do a great job of explaining that technically. So I finished that up and boom, we are done. So now let's get back to that native ad agency page that I want to turn into native advertising agency. So the first thing you'll want to do is go to add new, and you are going to copy and paste that source URL, or you probably did that earlier in the video, and then the query parameters. That is, you can take parameters from a URL that's like, after the like if you see I'm just going to show you an example. A query parameter might be like in the search. If I searched a sofa and then I have this q equals, that's a query parameter. Most of you probably are dealing with the more common example that I'm using in this case, but if you want me to make a video on that, let me know. So the other thing is, what is the target URL? So what do we want to direct this to? So we decided that we wanted it to go to native advertising agency. And then there's a redirection, which is the default and basic. So I'll just show you, I'll add that redirect. So here we go. Now, if someone goes to this page, boom, did you see that in the URL? It changed to native advertising agency. So now, what do I do, right? There's a 404. Oh my gosh. Well, that's really easy. You just go into this page address and you change it. You close the loop by changing that page slug to what you want it to be. Boom. We're done. So now when I go to native advertising agency, boom, it goes to that original page. Now, if I go to native ad agency, boom, it goes to the new page that we were looking for. So that is how you use the redirection plugin from start to finish. Here are some considerations to keep in mind. 1, when you redirect a URL from one place to another, Google considers it a brand new page. So that means Google doesn't know about this page, and they don't consider it, even if we moved this existing page over, they don't think about it that way. So that's a consideration. If you're changing a lot of URLs, you might see a hit. And you're most likely to see a hit because if you have any backlinks or, basically votes on the internet that are pointing to that particular old URL, right? If I had a bunch of links going to native ad agency, then Google looks at those backlinks as, they're pushing up the SEO rankings. But if I change it to native advertising agency, then basically what I have is a backlink that goes to this native ad agency page and then goes to this native advertising agency page. And tests have shown that when you add a different layer or a new layer, you lose 15 to 30% of the power from those original links. So if you move this URL, you are basically, if you had a lot of marketing activities behind that, you are taking a little bit of a risk. Some people say they don't see any effects. I've heard that, and that's great. And others say that it does actually affect them. So that's just something to keep in mind as you change the URLs. I always believe that it's good to work from humans first and to make sure that your URL is the clearest that it possibly can be, that you're providing the best user experience. So if that means that you need to change your URLs in order to accommodate the growth of or changes of your website, please feel free to do so and have a lot of fun with the WordPress Redirection plugin. If you have any questions, comment below and I would love to talk to you. Thanks.